The back page this morning, dominated by Juventus Tottenham, no surprise there. The headline in the Irish Times, Juve stunning second half comeback sinks Tottenham. Myself and Alan have mentioned it slightly. I'll give you a little bit of a view of that, mention it slightly as well. And Joe Schmidt, 3 changes we believe. It's in a lot of the papers, both online and the print pages this morning as well, that the 3 changes are going to be Tyke Furlong and Ian Henderson as we expected coming back into the Ireland pack, and 1 in the back line as well. Gary Ringrose is going to be replacing Chris Farrell in midfield for his first game in several weeks. He has very little rugby under his belt, but at least we know that he's capable of performing at that level. Next of all, we're going to go to the Irish Examiner. A lady luck is the headline, and it's again referring to Juventus' brilliant comeback against Tottenham at Wembley. Juventus' comeback ends Tottenham's European dream at Wembley. There's a very interesting piece as well with Sarah Carey on juggling motherhood with intercounty camogie. Total dedication is the headline there. And inside the Independent Sports, or the Examiner Sports Supplement, a piece with Tommy Martin, who's taking a little bit of satisfaction from the manner in which PSG, dominated by their Qatari money, were dominated by Real Madrid in the Champions League in Paris on Tuesday night. Really disappointing performance from them. Moving on to the Herald Sport. Horrible, bitter loss, says James McCarthy. Now, he's referring to the league final defeat to Kerry last year and how that spurred them onto winning the Sam Maguire in the 3 in a row. Now, we remember the piece that Paul Kimmage wrote about Jim Gavin having compared Stephen Rochford and Mayo's devastation after losing by a point to Dublin in the All-Ireland final to how they felt a few months prior to that, watching Kerry walk up the steps of the Hoganstown lift.
It's not the same, surely.
Look, it's just in no way is remotely the same. And I know Paul Kimmage took umbrage to that. Look, Jim Gavin will say these things and you would hope that he means them, but I can't imagine James McCarthy was absolutely... Were they devastated? I wonder
they were really disappointed. When you set that ruthless standard, for sure, you're disappointed.
And it's a national title and it's another medal. But I'd imagine they got over it pretty quickly, knowing that they were still the best team in the country, that they probably weren't at their best, and there was plenty of room for improvement. And then lo and behold, a few months later, they have climbed those steps and they've lifted yet another Sam Maguire. They're 5 and 7 years.
You never shut up about it.
Well, look, someday Tip will win their All-Ireland football title. You have enough hurling All-Ireland titles in the bank as well. Arrivederci. It was inevitable we were going to get a headline similar to that. Kane's pain as Spurs crash out. And at the top there you can see Basil Fawlty. So it's another reference just to the fact that Basel beat Man City last night. It was a very strong City team as well. And a number of changes from the side that beat Chelsea at the weekend. And then just the top of the left there, Ruby, I'm all good. You're looking forward to seeing Ruby back in the saddle.
Yeah, big time,
he's going to be in Thurles today.
He's Thurles today, maybe one more at the weekend, and then Cheltenham next week. So it's like a guy coming back from in the rugby scene, been out for 15 weeks and play a friendly today, friendly at the weekend, and then straight into
it kind of has parallels
Cup next week or
with Gary
Nations.
Ringrose. We knew that he was going to be coming back into the squad and into contention fitness-wise this weekend, but we would have thought he would have played last weekend for Leinster. But then Chris Farrell goes down, and there's no chance they're going to risk Gary Ringrose because they can't afford to lose another guy in that position. You're trying to balance getting some minutes under your belt with actually being fit enough for the big game. Ruby Walsh is trying to balance making sure he's fit for Cheltenham with just getting a couple of rides under his belt heading into next week.
And that's it. He'll probably have been riding out for the last couple of weeks a little bit more carefully, and he feels he's ready. It's like a player pushing themselves to come back for a big semi-final or a big final towards the end of the season. You got to take a chance, but I'm sure medically he's had so many broken bones and injuries over the years, and he's tough. Jockeys are tough. He's not going to miss Cheltenham next week. Nothing's going to stop him, and he's a machine. When he goes to Cheltenham, his success has been phenomenal there. And you know, I was watching the press stuff he did yesterday. You can see that little glint in the eye, that little bit of excitement. I had Davy Russell on last year with me on the News Talk breakfast, and I was just amazed by the sound of his voice, ready, the anticipation, the excitement, the build-up. And Cheltenham is massive, so it's great for the Irish punters and for racing that Ruby is back, and obviously Willie Mullins will be delighted as well to have him back in the mix for next week. Yeah, and he's got a couple of big calls as well to make, particularly whether he's going to go at Mint or Duvan, but it's a nice place to be, to have that sort of choice in your hands, which Ruby does every year. You've Blown It is the back page on the Irish Daily Star. We've already talked a little bit about Juventus Tottenham. We'll be going in more detail with Nick Miller in a few minutes' time. But at the top there, you can see Wenger going back to basics. He basically just wants the Arsenal players to remember just how good they are.
he was saying, Quinny, when you're in a negative spiral, which is the term that Lauren Koscielny used, it's very easy to forget how good you are.
Absolutely.
They're not good, though.
Yeah,
this
but
is
look,
not a good
to be
Arsenal
honest,
team. I would not have them as favourites going into this tie against an AC Milan team that isn't in the top 5 in Serie A.
You hear the word spineless, character, work rate, honesty, all those words in the last few weeks from the so-called experts who played the game at the highest level. And that their ingredients you cannot be without in any team at any level. Even for kids playing, you need character, you need a bit of desire, a bit of drive. Now, there's serious question marks when you start asking questions about people, you know, their character and their desire.
Isn't that almost the evidence as to their lack of spine?
Yes.
How you react. Because aside from being accused of being a cheat or feigning injury, being told that you've got no bottle and that you've got no mental strength is one of the biggest insults a professional sports person can have hurled at them.
It's the biggest insult.
And this seems to be routinely thrown in Arsenal's faces and these players, and yet they don't come back fighting.
But on paper, they're not good players.
Well, that's an argument that I'm trying to have with Kev.
6, 7, 8 players, maybe.
I think there are some very good players in that Arsenal team.
Yeah,
I don't think they're good enough to win a Champions League or a Premier League, but I think they're good enough to be far more productive than they currently are. There are several players. For example, one of the players who gets an awful lot of flack is Granit Xhaka, and rightly so. He's been appalling this season, and he looks like often he just doesn't really care enough. I actually think he's a really talented midfield player. I think under the right manager, a manager that actually holds him to account and forces him to take...
Is there a problem, and this is really an interesting thing for me, and we had this in maybe over the years in rugby, if you bring in too many overseas guys, what does it mean to them? You look at France, all the overseas guys, when the going gets tough on 60 or 70 minutes,
look at the City team. The City team is laden with foreign players. Manchester United team that won the treble.
But maybe they've just, you see, this is the kind of contrast between signing overseas players is the characters you do sign. So that natural kind of work rate, honesty, desire is in a player or it's not in a player. So have Arsenal,
all of it comes from the manager.
So have Arsenal got it wrong in some of the signings is what I'm trying to say. Not just on the quality thing, because I think if I'm signing a rugby player for Munster, for Leinster, I go and find out what the character's like. Is this guy a real hard worker? Okay, you look for the talent as well. And maybe he's too many guys who are very, very talented, but maybe not really, really resilient, physical, strong, have that mentality. And collectively put 3 or 4 of those guys in any group and they can pull people down.
Yeah, well, they are lacking a bit of character, a bit of strong mentality. I think a lot of it comes from the manager. I think the culture that Wenger has ingrained in that club for the last certainly 5 years.
It's time for a new voice at this stage.
There's no bad rap if you don't perform.
I feel sorry for him though as well because of his legacy.
I've stopped feeling sorry for him because he had an opportunity to get out a couple of times.
You lack a little bit of empathy for you're kind of ruthless yourself.
Many would say that. Last for me on the back pages, it's the back of the Irish Daily Mirror. Seconds out, Spurs cruising to last 8. 169 seconds later, and 2 goals end the Juventus dream. We're down for the count. That's the thoughts of Lauren Koscielny, who apparently is the player that became very emotional in those crisis talks that were held at Arsenal last week. He feels they have a chance if they can just rediscover a little bit of confidence, a bit of form of getting past Gennaro Gattuso's AC Milan side. They kick off at 6 o'clock in the first leg at the San Siro tonight. What have you got?
Well, in the Times Ireland, we've got, and this is a really interesting one, Ireland are a greater test than England. That's Gavin Hastings, which is really interesting, isn't it? He's kind of talking Ireland up, saying that, you know, this is a bigger challenge for Scotland than facing England in Murrayfield, coming to Dublin. You could argue and say, agree with him a little bit.
Well, they're away from home, obviously, so there's that. That's the only aspect of I would have thought. It's easy to say when you've beaten England that Ireland will be a stiffer challenge. But you can see why he's saying it, because Ireland are certainly the team that have all the momentum behind them. They are at home this weekend. Scotland's record in Dublin is not great. So I can see why he's saying that, to be honest, although Scotland hadn't beaten England in 10 years.
Yeah.
They've beaten us, what is it, 3 times in that time?
And all the Scots will talk us up this week, but look, I think we won't get hoodwinked. We understand how good they can be if you allow them play. Tottenham crash out, we spoke about that. 2-goal blitz in 3 second-half minutes and knock Spurs out of the Champions League. Next one is the Irish Indo. Another really interesting story is, and it kind of only, a little bit of speculation the last day or two, but it kind of only broke last night. London Irish look to Kidney. Declan Kidney looks like he's He's going back into the coaching role.
So he's been out of the game for 5 years now.
2013 since he left the Irish job.
The athletics coordinator, or the head of pretty much in charge, overseeing all athletics departments in UCC since he left the Ireland job in 2013. So it's a long time to be away from the professional game. How much coaching is he actually going to be doing at London Irish, or how much will he be trusting it to the people he's going to be bringing in? Les Kiss being one of them.
They've obviously struggled in the last number of years.
They're going to get relegated.
Nick Kennedy is their director of rugby. He's still contracted there. They're going to get relegated. And it looks like Declan Kidney is going to bring Les Kiss with him. You remember, and I played under both those guys in 2009. And when Declan Kidney assembled his coaching staff, it was Gert Small, Les Kiss, Alan Gaffney. So he surrounded himself with strong guys. So he likes Les, trusts Les, and it looks like Les Kiss is going to be involved with him. So I'm delighted he's back involved. And this is an ideal job for him. They're lacking that bit of direction. They've probably, spent money in the wrong ways. There's a little bit of uncertainty, but they've struggled in the last number of years, and he's a real good man to come in, put in some structure there, and maybe get a bit of guidance and a feel-good factor back in the club as well. So I'm delighted he's back involved.
Can I just say that if I'm a London Irish supporter and I'm waking up to this news this morning, I'm looking at a guy that left the Ireland job with a lot of the credit that he'd built up through the Grand Slam kind of whittled away over some of the performances between 2011 and 2013, combined with a guy who's just been sacked at Ulster. And I'm wondering, is this the dream team coaching ticket that's going to help us build from the depths that we've fallen to?
It's definitely an argument, yeah. But who did they get? Did they go Southern Hemisphere? Did they start going? What they're getting here is two guys who are very experienced and will be really, really motivated to put their own CVs back up on a pedestal again. Les Kiss, the Ulster thing. There's more going on in Ulster than just Les Kiss's role as director of rugby. I think it goes far deeper than that. The structures, players they've signed over the years, lacking a bit of identity. And I think he went into a tough job there. So I still think he's a lot to offer, Les Kiss. And I worked with him with Ireland. And I definitely think this man has. I think he's lost to the game of rugby. If he's not back, if he didn't get back into coaching, I think it would have been a travesty. And he's 2 Heineken Cups won. I was part of a group that he brought from nowhere to be European champions. So there's similarities. What London Irish maybe want is to bring that group on, change structures, and he's really good at that stuff. Good at man management. He'll get a feel-good factor there, and so I understand your point. It may be a little bit of risk. But there's a lot of experience there, and 2 guys who will be highly motivated to get themselves back on track. And
2 guys maybe with something to prove as well.
Yeah, definitely.
If any London Irish fans have their doubts over this potential recruitment policy, give Alan Quinlan a ring and set it straight. He's won me over here.
Great picture of Alex Wood there. We spoke about it. And the baldy head of his dad here with a big smiley face. What a moment for him. Alex Wood scoring for St Munchin's there when they won the Junior Cup yesterday. And GA, 3 in battle for top GA job, the Director General. A couple of people interviewed yesterday.
The former president of the GA, Liam O'Neill, and Liam Sheedy,
Tom Ryan
former
as
tip
well.
hurling manager, Tom Ryan as well. So that'll be interesting to see how that one goes.
There's a headline about Ruby. 2 minds over Min or Duvan call next week. You mentioned that.
Yeah, well,
the luxury of having the ability to
a lot of jockeys at Cheltenham next week that would dearly love to be in that position.
They'll take his hand
Thanks
off for any
for that,
of those calls.
Our next, we've got one more paper as well. Guardian.
Yeah, we got the Guardian. Yeah,
always interesting on the back of a Champions League night.
So it's Dybala drives obviously Spurs 2-1. Juventus against Spurs knocked them out. And this is a story that was covered during the week, obviously with the Sir Bradley Wiggins, the Jiffy bag, and that report that came out a couple of days ago. David Brailsford, the head of Team Sky, under pressure. The pressure builds on Team Sky chief to quit after head of World Cycling urges major anti-doping inquiry. That's something that's creating a lot of uncertainty in cycling. Brailsford is coming under huge pressure there to really take action. You remember when he spoke about this clean sport and that they'd have a zero tolerance and then you have the Bradley Wiggins thing.
That's been shredded, hasn't it? All sense of integrity.
A lot of uncertainty there. And Serena's back. Williams set for tennis return after becoming a mother on International Women's Day.